Hey, this is Woodman here. So today I just want to do a quick refresher on the Seven Hermetic Principles, which I've covered in a previous series. As we know, comes from the Kabbalion. It's a philosophical and esoteric tradition attributed to Hermes Trismegistus, a legendary figure often associated with synthesis of the Greek and Egyptian thoughts on certain things. These principles being detailed in the Kabbalion, a book published in 1908 by three individuals under the pseudonym The Three Initiates. The principles are said to underpin the nature of reality and provide insight into spiritual and practical matters. So here's a brief overview of each principle, and you could probably spend all day talking about each of these principles because it gets very deep after some time. The first principle is the principle of mentalism, the core idea, which is that all is the mind. This principle asserts that everything in the universe is a manifestation of the mind or consciousness. It implies that the material world is not separate from the mind, but is in fact created and sustained by it. Reality, therefore, is a mental construct. And really, with this, the most important thing you want to draw from this is that, of course, things that you feel in your mind will eventually come into the 3D, into reality. In terms of application, understanding this principle encourages individuals to harness the power of their thoughts and beliefs to shape their reality. By mastering one's mental state, one can influence and transform their life experiences ultimately in the long run. The second principle being the principle of correspondence, the core idea being as above, so below, as below, so above. And this principle emphasizes the interconnectedness between different planes of existence, such as the physical world, the mental world, and the spiritual world, that all three of these realms are interconnected. It suggests that the patterns repeat across these three varying levels of reality. In terms of application, we recognize that these correspondences can help individuals understand complex concepts and very well solve problems by examining analogies and parallels between different aspects of life. In other words, perhaps, in one world, maybe the issue is that okay, I see that there's a group of bullies and this social club that's likes to pick on people, but maybe in a more fantastic reality, it's like a coven of witches, and this coven of witches, has targeted a particular person that they're going after. You know, Even though they may be different in different realities, there's correspondence between them. Now, what about the idea of the let's say the principle of vibration, right? The core idea is that nothing rests, everything moves. So everything is constantly in motion. And you remember, everything is energy. So everything in the universe is in constant motion and vibrates at different frequencies. So therefore, nothing is truly static. Everything's in a state of flux. And that's because your eyes deceive you, right? A lot of things sound and look like they're solid, but they're not, right? There may be a lot of empty space in it. And these things are vibrating at a certain level, and we can only perceive it at a certain level of vibrational nature of reality. And we learn to harmonize our own vibrations with our desired outcomes, fostering personal growth and transformation by learning to vibrate at a level that brings us more abundance. What about the principle of polarity? Well, the core idea here is that everything is dual. Everything has poles. This principle states that everything has two opposite poles or aspects that are actually different degrees of the same thing. Instance, heat and cold are extremes of temperature. Think of it as like a spectrum. Even in a spectrum, you're going to have two ends of the spectrum that are polar opposites, even though things in between may be shades of gray if you have black on one end and white on the other. By application, we recognize and embrace polarities, and individuals can achieve balance and understand that seemingly opposite forces are interconnected and can be transformed into one another. In other words, just because it is dualistic doesn't mean it's strictly binary, that we're only dealing with whole numbers. We may be dealing with intervals. We need to think about that. What about the principle of rhythm? The core idea here is that everything flows in and out, everything has its sides. This principle suggests that all phenomena rise and fall in a rhythmic cycle. It reflects the natural ebb and flow of the life in the universe. And so the key to understand here is that it can't always be great and it can't always be bad. There's going to be ebbs and flows, meaning that we navigate various cycles, that not everything is just going to be all one way or all the other. We have to recognize these cycles for what they are, the natural ups and the natural downs, and harness the energy of different phases so that we can personally and spiritually grow and develop and understand the nature of the world around us. The sixth principle being the principle of cause and effect. The core idea being that every cause has its effect, every effect has its cause. This principle posits that nothing happens by chance, every action has a corresponding reaction, and every event is the result of a preceding cause. However, we have to understand what the true causes of things are. Some people think that actions may be the cause of things, and that's possible, but it may not necessarily be the whole be all end all. It's not just necessarily that you do an action and therefore the effect happens. There are other ways in which we can cause certain effects. We need to take responsibility for our actions, however, and their consequences, and we need to become more intentional in shaping the outcomes and experiences we have. And perpetually playing yourself to be the victim is definitely one way to stay stuck in this life. The seventh principle is the principle of gender, and the core idea here is that gender is in everything. Everything has its masculine and feminine principles. This principle asserts that everything in the universe contains both masculine and feminine energies or attributes, and that balance between these energies is essential for harmony. If we go back to the idea of polarities, this is kind of a dualistic nature of looking at gender. But gender is not truly what we think it is. Like we may think that, oh no, I'm a man, therefore I only have masculine energy in me, or I'm a woman, I only have feminine energy in me. And the reality is that we have varying degrees of qualities from both in our lives, and we need to learn how to understand that and how to balance that so that we can take advantage of whatever it is we're blessed with that we have. We know we shouldn't be in denial about it. We should understand that, hey, you know what? If I have intuition, maybe that is a feminine trait that's expressing itself. Seven Hermetic Principles. So, this is the framework by which we understand the nature of reality and our human experience. By applying these principles, we can gain insights into the workings of the universe, we can harness personal power, and we can achieve greater balance and harmony in our lives. I only revisit it because it bears repeating, because it's something that we tend to lose sight of and we tend to get lost in the weeds as we're going through life. But it's something that we need to kind of really come back to, because if sometimes we're struggling in a certain area, it might be because we didn't quite master a certain principle. These seven principles show up at many different things in many different events at many different levels. And the better that we come to understand these principles, the better that we can tackle certain situations and be able to make the advancements we need to make. For example, again, going back to correspondence, it may be that in our mind we have attained a certain level. We're saying, okay, you know what? In my mind, I view myself as an authority figure, and in the spiritual world, I believe I am a spiritual authority. Which you say, why isn't that showing up in a 3D? Well, that has to also manifest in the mental realm. Like we have to mentally be at the level of being an authority figure, and then inevitably it'll manifest in the physical realm, where we'll come to realize that in the role that we play in our 3D world, that we become trusted by others because we emanate this vibe of being this authority figure that people can trust and go to, and then inevitably that will manifest in the 3D as well as it did in the mental and spiritual planes. So there are a lot of times we need to kind of sit back and just think about these seven principles and how they can work in our lives, truly understand the concepts behind them, truly understand that when we really learn how to make these principles work for us, we can live a better life overall. I hope you enjoyed this message. If you're new here, welcome aboard. It's a safe space. If you're returning, thank you for support. You make the channel great. I love you. I love you. I love you. May the Most High God bless you and keep you safe and protect you. I wish you peace and serenity. Have a wonderful and blessed day. Take care. Bye.